You haven't subscribed to the channel yet? Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now let's go. The second act of my life. We've been together for 13 years. I met Natalie in college, where she was the star of every gathering and I, well, wasn't. But somehow it worked. We fit together like puzzle pieces, maybe not the ones you'd expect to go together, but perfect for us. After graduation, we jumped into marriage with all the naivety of two people in love, eager to build a life together. A couple of kids came soon after, and my career in finance really took off. Meanwhile, she stayed home, juggling remote work and the kids while keeping the house running smoothly. Over time, though, Natalie started hinting at how the spark had faded. "Where's the passion?" she asked as I stumbled through the door at 8 p.m., exhausted from work and the unending battle with New York traffic. Passion? I'd chuckle and warned myself than her. I don't know, ask your friends if they found passion after 13 years and 2 kids. It was supposed to be funny, but she didn't laugh. For me, it was about mutual respect and partnership. To be honest, I didn't get what she wanted from me. My love was there, steady and reliable, but maybe not flashy. It all began to change when she started spending more time with her friends, most of whom were on the flashier side. They'd go to parties on Friday nights, ones I tagged along to a few times, just to see what they were all about. It wasn't my scene. Everyone was obsessed with perfect cocktails, selfies, and turning every minor inconvenience into a dramatic story. After a few of these gatherings, I decided to skip the socializing and spend my evenings with the kids. It was after one of these Friday nights that I noticed her talking more and more about someone she met at a party. Just an old friend, she'd say, too casually. She'd come home late, energized in a way I hadn't seen in years, and within a few weeks, she'd committed herself to a full self-care regime. She was suddenly counting every calorie, hitting the gym regularly, cutting out carbs, even the homemade pasta I made that she used to love. She was all about her diet and workout routine, her transformation. I wasn't against it. It's just that, all of a sudden, it felt like I'd lost my wife and gained an Instagram influencer. The changes didn't end there. She was different. Her gaze shifted away from me, and I felt like I was just part of the background scenery in her life now. In bed, I noticed she'd stopped reaching out to hold my hand or run her fingers through my hair like she used to. I brushed it off, telling myself that marriage after a decade comes with its own silences. But still, something gnawed at me. I had this creeping feeling that there was more than just her fitness journey. So I started watching for the little things, strange text messages, sudden phone calls that she'd take in another room, her laughter at jokes I wasn't privy to. Is there someone else? I asked her one night. She just gave me a quick laugh, more dismissive than reassuring, and said, "Don't be silly." But the more I watched, the more certain I became. She was hiding something, but I couldn't prove it. Every time I tried to find evidence, she'd cover her tracks just enough to keep me guessing. Women can be cunning when they want to be, and Natalie was no exception. Then one night, she came home late from another party, and this time she was visibly different. Her makeup was smudged, and she'd had a bit too much to drink. She slumped onto the couch, barely able to keep her head up. I brought her a glass of water, watching as she slowly became more aware of her surroundings. "Are you okay?" I asked, more out of habit than concern at that point. She looked at me, and something in her face shifted. Her shoulders sagged, and her expression softened, like she was fighting between laughter and tears. "It's just, I wanted to feel like a woman again, you know? I wanted something that I wouldn't regret." She stammered over her words, every sentence dripping with some strange mixture of shame and confession. That was all I needed to hear. I felt a bizarre sort of calm washed over me. So I let her ramble, her words tumbling out incoherently as I handed her an aspirin and a glass of tea to sober her up. By the morning, she had no memory of her slurred confession, but I did. It had confirmed everything I'd suspected, and I'd already started mentally calculating my next steps. By noon, I was on the phone with a lawyer asking what I needed to know about the divorce process, the fallout. As days passed, it became clear that she was expecting me to just let things blow over. She barely mentioned her night out, carrying on with life as if nothing had happened. But for me, the clock had already started ticking down to our inevitable separation. One evening, I decided to break the silence. "Natalie," I started, keeping my voice steady, "I know about everything." For a moment, her eyes flashed with something that looked like panic, but it quickly settled into an indifference that stung more than any confession could have. She didn't deny it, didn't explain it, and for the first time, I saw her clearly. "It was just a moment," she said flatly as if she were explaining a minor mistake. "It's not worth blowing our whole marriage over." I didn't respond. What was there to say? She'd shown me exactly how much she valued our life together, and in her expression, I could see that regret was nowhere to be found. She didn't care, not about me, not about the years we'd shared. Only our son seemed to matter to her, and for that, I respected her. But there was nothing left for us to salvage. The marriage we'd built was just a faint outline of something that no longer existed. She had destroyed the love I once had for her, and I had no intention of trying to force something that had already crumbled. Moving on. In the weeks that followed, I went through the motions, contacting the lawyer, setting up arrangements, and preparing myself for a new life as a single dad. Surprisingly, I felt lighter. There was a freedom in knowing I didn't have to live in doubt or worry anymore. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it had dulled into something I could live with. Then, one day, as I was sitting in a coffee shop, a woman smiled at me from across the room. Her smile was warm, genuine, not the practiced grin of someone posing for Instagram. I found myself smiling back, and before I knew it, we were talking, laughing, sharing stories. Her name was Lily, and she was kind in a way that felt effortless. She wasn't about calorie counting or keeping up appearances, she just lived. We started seeing each other, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was with someone who truly valued me. Epilogue. Natalie and I finalized the divorce without much fanfare. She moved on with her life, occasionally reaching out to coordinate plans for our son. I was glad that she stayed involved for his sake more than anything. We managed to maintain a civil relationship, but the depth of her betrayal had left scars that would never fully heal. With Lily, things were different. She brought a sense of warmth and acceptance into my life that had been missing for a long time. Our life wasn't flashy or filled with extravagant declarations of passion, but it was real. And that was more than enough for me. Every now and then, I catch a glimpse of Natalie's social media, see her posting pictures with her new fitness friends or tagging herself at another party. I didn't feel anger or resentment anymore, just a quiet satisfaction that I'd moved on to something better. Comment section. 1. Sarah L. I could feel a hurt in every word. Sometimes people get lost looking for something they can't even define, but they end up hurting the people who stood by them the most. I'm glad you found someone who truly values you. Onwards and upwards. 2. Jason M. As a husband myself, this hit home. Relationships aren't all about fireworks. They're about being there in the everyday moments, through the ups and downs. Respect is underrated in marriage, and I hope more people realize that before it's too late. 3. Emma Joliu. This was a tough read. Sometimes it feels like people want the fantasy, not the reality of relationships. You're better off with someone who values real connection, not the illusion of passion every moment. 4. Mike T. Your story is every man's nightmare, trying to do everything right and still ending up betrayed. But I admire the way you handled it with dignity. That takes strength. 5. Layla K. I'm happy for you, truly. And if I could add my 2 cents, it sounds like she was searching for validation. But validation has to come from within, not from someone else. It's so much better you both moved on, even if the path was painful. 6. Dean H. Man, this was powerful. It's amazing how often we men get labeled as distant when we're working hard for our families. Seems like the more you do, the more you get taken for granted. But your resilience is inspiring. 7. Paula J. As someone who's been on both sides of a failing marriage, I get it. But honesty matters. The way you stayed calm and took charge showed respect for yourself. Here's hoping for better days for both of you. 8. Tamar. Let's be real. It's hard to know how you'll react until you're in that position. But you handled it better than I would have. Wishing you all the best with your new partner. She sounds like a keeper. 9. Marissa G. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this. People forget that men feel deeply too. We're all taught to suck it up, but you reminded us that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being in the face of betrayal.